You'll love today's project if you like getting burned. Lava Financial will turn your wallet from cold to hot. If you like your volcanoes like you like your nodes inactive, I think you're going to love Lava Financial. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope you are doing well. Today we're going to talk about Lava Financial, and I'm sure you've heard this just like me before, but they're aiming to be long-term sustainable. So why should we take a look at them? Well, they actually have some pretty cool things that they're trying to implement to achieve this that are different from a lot of node projects. So with that, let's check out all the tricks that are up their sleeve in just a second. Before we hit the main point of the video, I'd like you to toss your fireballs down to that like button, and don't worry, it's not going to actually catch it on fire, but it may actually churn up that YouTube algorithm and get it spinning in a fiery kind of way so that my video is seen by others. And of course, if you like these videos and you want me to continue producing content, I'd love your support with that sub button. And of course, if you want to see future videos, you'll need to hit that notification bell. You may never see them again. Those might actually burn up as far as you know. So I also want to mention I just did my first giveaway and it was actually to the Sleep Money Club. So 5 lucky people get to try it out for 1 month for free. And if you want to check it out, you can actually head down to the description and check out the link there and see if you are interested. And also check out this video that's just about to play. Sleep Money Club is an awesome place to come hang out with a like-minded individuals such as yourself talking passive income every day. We talk stocks, crypto, mining, new node projects, you name it, we're talking about it. There's also very cool giveaways for the members. You can come in there and talk with me or with the founders of the club, Decade Investor or your friend Andy, as well as a bunch of other YouTubers. Please come check it out and see if you're interested. I'll see you inside. So first, let's hit up sustainability with Lava Financial, and actually they break it down into 3 phases. So phase one is actually going to be the treasury growth through the Lava token. And so of course, with all these node projects, you buy a token and you create your nodes, and that will be in the initial phase. So essentially what that's going to do is build up their treasury so that they can actually support both, of course, the treasury itself and investors to be paid out through. Now, another main item that we have here for the Lava token is it's a deflationary asset. So they're not intending on that ever being inflationary and continuing. There are a limited number of tokens. And when you create a node, 10% of the tokens are actually burned to further reduce that. Now, another item here is they've mentioned in that phase one is holders of the Lava token may actually be paid back in USDC, which I don't have too many details on that, but that is a pretty cool feature that they've added into this. Now, phase two is actually the next area where they have some innovation that I really, really like. And it's not a brand new model, but a lot of other node projects are looking into this. I know at least two, I believe, off the top of my head that are doing this. So what they're going to do is they're trying to transition away from that lava token, which is going to end up with some sell pressure, whether you like it that way or not. So how they do that is they now actually create another token that they're going to call in lava. That token's purpose is actually to take away the sell pressure, like I said, and now that's going to be where your revenue actually comes from or your earnings as an investor. So that token will basically be set aside. You will earn that instead of lava eventually and use that to actually get your revenue share of the actual treasury. So that's their intent is the revenue share growth is also going to begin up and kick up there, and you're going to transition to earning out of the revenue. Phase three actually sees the culmination of what is phase two, but it actually wants to see full sustainability. So completely moving over to that in lava token, and they're going to have that revenue generation completely spun up or at least completely started so that that treasury is booming to produce funds for everybody that's being paid. So the way they're going to do that is multiple different streams of revenue. We're going to talk in further detail, but I'm just going to mention them. Two of the key areas that I'm going to mention are they're actually introducing something called sister projects and also angel investments. Now, those are brand new items. We'll go into more detail, but they also have your traditional things that are going to bring in revenue. Of course, taxes to not allow too much revenue out of the system. But they have some more traditional means that we're going to talk about in just a second as well. So, as far as the revenue streams, I actually have a very big difference from your standard node projects. So, the normal thing we always see now is node project A invest in node projects B and C. And now if node projects B and C fail, A as a result is going to eventually fail if they have no other revenue generation because, well, as we've always said in these, all these node projects currently, they always start out as Ponzi-nomics. So where else are they getting funds beside us and new users coming in to support their original users, right? So uh, to say the least, this project is handling things very differently, in my opinion. And so I'll start off with the fact that they're very, very, very low risk investments in some sense to me, at least in the crypto world. I believe these are low risk investments. So, step one, we'll hit some of the key points first before we get to these new innovative revenue streams. But they're actually going to invest firstly in blue chip cryptos. So, I think that is awesome. You know, you're talking AVAX, you're talking Sol, Matic, so they're going to invest in those, and I think that is a pretty cool thing to do. I think it helps them not be so exposed. The aspects of the node project investment, super high risk. So you're putting all your eggs in one basket in a sense in that way, but at least you're spreading things out between chains indirectly with these crypto plays or these blue chip crypto investments. Now let's hit up the other two new things. We're going to first hit up the angel investments. So this is not completely fleshed out as to what's going on here, but what they're really doing is instead of just having you or I, or if you're a whale, I am not a whale, but instead of just having whales and individuals invest, they're actually getting, you might say, companies or large investors beyond just whales, and so those groups are coming in and they're actually putting in funds, larger amounts, and investing in the project. And they've already got a deal lined up with someone. I don't know who the company or entity is, but they've already got one lined up right now before launch. And so this promises to be a little bit more beneficial, I believe, but there's still a little bit of fuzziness, so I don't have all the details to share with you. Now, the next cool thing that I'll mention in the revenue stream area that they're actually going to use that's innovative, I believe, in some sense, especially with how they're handling it, is their sister projects. Now, what are those? So, if Lava Financial is more of an ecosystem with a focus on node projects, they have additional projects that are going to tie into the use of the Lava token, so use cases. So these three sister projects, they actually have the names in their Discord, I guess, kind of code names. One of those sister projects is actually almost done and ready to go. And so the other two are still in work, but they're basically going to bring support and help reduce that sell pressure with additional means to use those tokens. I think that's awesome. Use cases are always going to be very, very useful in this environment to keep projects more sustainable and long term growth to occur. So they'll bring in additional people. I mean, it may just be me, it may be you, it may be others, it may be people that you might say that don't invest in node projects. Maybe these projects attract additional investors that wouldn't normally want to be in the node projects. We'll, of course, have to wait and see what these are because, again, I don't have a lot of the details on this, but I think the ideas of what they're doing are pretty cool. So let's go ahead and talk about the nodes now since we haven't even looked at them, and I'll show you the graphic here so we can actually dive in and let's swap over. So you'll see that they actually have three nodes right now. So the first one is called Fuji, the second's Krakatau, and the third, the big one, is Nova Rupta. So you'll see that they kind of scale up a little bit with the last one being really, really large by comparison, but it's 100 lava tokens. And just food for thought, I believe they're starting the launch price at 50 cents for the lava tokens. So you're not talking huge. You can get in at a pretty good, reasonable price area for these for sure. But I would expect as all these projects that this price takes off pretty fast after launch. But we'll have to wait and see. But anyways, as far as the nodes, you're talking 100 lava, then double that up to 200 for the Krakatau, and then the last one is a whopping 500 lava. And of course, you can see your returns there. I like this level area for returns. It is much, much more sustainable and reasonable than what we've seen in the past with node projects. So out of the gate, this one's actually coming out with more sustainable prices. So that runway is longer and it gives them that point so they can actually get up to the level of being able to push that runway out with actual revenue streams instead of relying on the Ponzi-nomics. So let you glance at these. You can see that pushes out with an ROI, and that assumes the price stays consistent of 83 days for the largest one, all the way down to the smallest, the Fuji, at 125 days to get your ROI. Now, with all these, when you have less returns, of course, your ROI, your time it takes to get back there is longer, and that is okay. It is just the way these. So when we're talking about node creation, we also want to hit up something cool they're doing and innovative in the compounding area. And the very first one is called flexible nodes, and it's kind of a compounding and a separate node category, as it turns out. So let's say you have 105 lava tokens, and of course, 100 of those you can create that Fuji node. Well, now you got the five left over. What are you going to do with them? Are you going to sell them? Of course, you wouldn't have bought them in the first place, am I right? But let's say you've got those five. You actually have the option to create a flexible node, and that actually earns you a 0.5% a day. So not only do you earn, but as you sit those there, you can add more over time and you can create an actual node out of those. So it allows you to actually compound or grow into a larger node. All the while, you get to earn as well. So it's a win win because you get to actually hold those and earn something. Plus, the protocol benefits as well to reduce sell pressure indirectly because instead of you selling, now you hold them and you create another node. So, all in all, I think that's a pretty cool feature. So the second thing that they've actually added or innovated on is called node fusion. Now, what that means is probably what you would expect it to mean. Let's say you've got two Fuji nodes. So you got those sitting there. Those are 100 a piece of the lava tokens. If you actually wanted to create a Krakatau node, it turns out that one is 200 of those lava tokens to buy normally. You can actually combine those two Fuji nodes through a node fusion fee, which we don't have the details on that yet on how much that is, but you can combine those with that small fee and now you've got your Krakatau node. So it allows you some pretty innovative ways to upgrade. And if you look at the actual daily income that you're going to get from those, it's actually more beneficial for you to go to the Krakatau than it is to have the two separate ones. Just because they are a little bit reduced, you actually gain more out of the Krakatau versus the two split in your return on investment. So all in all, pretty cool features they've got there between the node fusion and the flexible nodes. Now, with all of these things, I do want to mention taxes. All of these projects often have some sort of tax model. Now, the first one is actually pretty beneficial to the platform. It's not really going to be detrimental to you unless you happen to be a whale. So, if you're a whale, and the reason that this exists before I get into it, there is a limit on the number of tokens that you can hold in one wallet, and that's targeted specifically so we don't have too many whales in the environment. Just to help with the entire idea of this, which is resolving around sell pressure and revenue generation and all the like. So, anyways, the point is, if you have too many tokens, they are trying to ensure that you can't skirt around this by having a 50% transfer tax. So the other major items here that actually affect you in the regards to the taxes, there's actually, we'll hit up the good news first. There is a 0% claim tax. So don't have to worry about claim taxes in this, but there is a 15% sales tax, and that will actually be higher on launch day. They'll, of course, do what a lot of these do. They'll step that down, and that's there to keep people from coming in and flipping the token immediately. I don't know the details on that as they have not released those details on what that's going to be, but those are always a good thing to help lower down the number of flips, and that tax will slowly over time gradually decrease. Maybe it's a couple days. We'll have to wait and see what they do. But overall, the taxes aren't too bad. This is pretty much par for the course for what we expect in the Node projects. So totally okay with this one, the way that they've actually built this out. So now I want to talk about what I like about the project or, the good of the project. And I always like to start with the floor. And the floor for me is usually what I call it with if I'm going to go look at a project, it has to have this in order for me to even have a glance at it. And especially, I'd say most of the time for me to invest. And then, of course, if it doesn't meet that, I generally will not even put a video up for this. So eventually we'll get used to this and maybe I won't even mention them because the assumption is I won't make a video without these. But let's just go over these real quick. Uh, they are KYC through CoinScope, and all the KYC members happen to be the multi-signers of the multi-sig wallet, which leads into there is a or will be a multi-sig wallet seeing as we haven't actually launched yet. There will be a multi-sig wallet though, so that's always a huge plus in these projects. So as with all these, the KYC is really good, but even better is full doxing, and they actually will go full doxing for all the multi-signers on the wallet just before launch. At least that's the communication thus far, and they'll do that on their website. So that speaks good things. I love to see that for a project. It just gives that layer of feeling comfortable with the team. If you already don't feel comfortable enough without the docs, the KYC is there, but just gives you another layer. So lastly, I guess with this, and it's not lastly, but we'll give a bonus as well. So the last layer of the floor that I like to call it, I'd say, is always going to be the audit. And the audit is actually complete. They did it through CoinScope as well with the KYC. So that audit's complete, and they're actually now in the process, as of the making of this video, they're combing through the audit results and trying to go through and work out all the details of whatever the code issues were they found or vulnerabilities and getting those out. Always a good thing. Like to see that. And I actually did some glancing at the audits and feel pretty good about what I saw. So they're just working through those now, and as long as they work through them, thumbs up from me. So I'd say the last item, and there's a couple bonuses I kind of said, but the last item that I love to see in these, and it's not a necessity, but it's a feel good. This team actually created this contract from the ground or contracts from the ground up. It's not a fork. That's always a huge plus, I think, because the amount of time that goes into that, it just lets you get a better feel. Me being an engineer, sometimes you don't know the intent whenever you look at someone else's code and you have to learn that, but when you build your own project, it's just totally different. You get very familiar with it and it's your baby. So it's just very, very different and you avoid all those vulnerabilities that you might not know about in a fork. Now, that doesn't mean your code's perfect, but very, very different viewpoint. And I say that again as an engineer that deals with some of this stuff in software development. So for some bonus things, the team actually has no token allocation. I do like to hear that. So no token allocation, they have to jump in like we do. So they don't have an unfair advantage from the get-go. So I'd say the last two things, and one of them's pretty big, I'd say. They've actually done something different with the whitelist. So a lot of these projects, of course, have whitelist. I never get into these things. But anyways, that's a side point, I suppose. So this whitelist actually kind of curbs flipping the token when people come in. So they can go buy their allocation, the people on the whitelist, and generally you see flipping as soon as launch happens and that token's available and you see that big spike up and you see often a lot of the people on the whitelist sell off a portion of their tokens in order to make back some money. Well, they're actually going to incentivize the whitelisters by giving them more different types of tokens, if you will. They're giving them more that will incentivize them to create nodes instead of incentivizing them to sell. So they'll actually do better by creating nodes. I think that's a very big positive thing to sustainability and the revenue generation side to hold that level of revenue that's already in the contract from the beginning. So lastly, they do have an OTC system, which isn't necessarily new, but they're doing it from the very get-go and establishing it so that whales have some path that will avoid the sell pressure on the contract by having those deals with a third party that, of course, the Lava Financial Group or the team will help facilitate through probably the Discord, from what I understand. Now, the last comment I'll say that I think is pretty good about the project, and it revolves around what we've already talked about in the beginning, but I need to add it again. I believe the angel investments is pretty promising. It has some scope to it that can help with the project. Of course, the blue chip crypto, I think I like the idea of the low investment. So I'm going to throw a bonus out there, and it's already been mentioned, so I wasn't going to say it, but I do believe that the actual sister projects, there's some good there. I think it has a lot of potential. I like the fact that it's a little bit more innovative with trying to bring that in and start it up as soon as the project launches. And I'll also throw out phase two with that in lava token, I think can be very, very huge for the project. A lot of projects suffer from this. You see increased sell pressure with the main token, but adding an additional token to work off of revenue generation is a little different, and we've seen it succeed in other projects to help work around some of the issues you see in some of these node projects. Now, with all these, I got to talk about the bad. So, there's always bad in these projects, specifically node projects, and it always centers around high risk and that word we love, Ponzi-nomics. So all node projects are high risk. I have to go in saying that from the get-go, and this is not financial advice. Immediately leading into this, I'm providing these videos just for information for you guys. I try to do research on all these projects to the best of my ability and provide that back to you and sometimes some entertainment mixed in as well. And I want you to know everything there is to know about the project that I could find to see if it's a safe investment. But you got to do your own research. You got to make sure that you know what's going on with these projects before you invest. I'm never here to tell you to follow me for my investment advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Please, please realize I'm just a dude making videos on the internet. I'm no different than the rest of you. So, with that being said, again, the Ponzi-nomics, these all start off that way. And that kind of leads into the second part of this. So, as much as I do like the idea of the sister projects, you just it's almost hinging upon that revenue stream needs sister projects and even the angel investments. It tends to be that if some of these new innovations fail, then you automatically revert back to Ponzi-nomics. And so there is a lot hinging there unless they introduce some new things. But I believe there's a lot going on there that relies upon that being successful and turning into a great generation of revenue for the platform. Otherwise, you end up back in again, like I said, the Ponzi-nomics aspect, which we all know how that goes with the node projects. We see that mountain climb and then that drop that never seems to recover on most node projects. So, despite all that, I am going to be investing. I intend to try to buy myself a node or two. Depends on that price and how launch goes. You know how that goes on launch days. But so the last important item is when is the launch and how can you get involved? And as it turns out, I'm doing this through just the picture here because they changed last minute, literally as I was wrapping this video up, trying to put it out for the launch date. They actually shifted it by 1 week, so it's actually tomorrow, the day after this video, when you're seeing it, it's going to be on Saturday, the 23rd, and there's a 2 hour launch window, 4 to 6 p.m. East. So you have to make sure you're around for that. Of course, that's to thwart bots, sniping, all that fun stuff that happens. And of course, they don't want people to know that. So you have to be around for them to announce that, probably in the Discord, just so you know exactly what's going on when that contract launches. I don't want to miss out on the cheaper token price or the shot at that since it will probably move up rather quickly on launch. So another item I didn't mention, and it may not serve any purpose, but just in case they move this NFT auction that you see here that's on the 20th, it's possible they could move that. Essentially, that's buying three different tiers of NFTs. They're going to auction those off. They provide a 5, 10, or 15% boost, respectively, depending on which one you get, as well as giving you some free lava so you can actually mint a node of the also the same tiers, respectively, with those NFTs. Pretty cool deal the way they're doing those. There's only 170 of them, but who knows how high they will go. Those aren't cheap, especially for the larger ones. But anyways, just in case they move those, I'm mentioning them. And with that, there's really nothing else here. Good luck to you guys with the launch and trying to get your nodes created. Hope everybody gets a shot at this with a good price. And until the next video, we will see you next time.